What's up, everyone? Just wanted to talk real quick about the um, premium live event, WWE Money in the Bank, and the men's Money in the Bank ladder match that took place this past Saturday. Just want to talk about the win by Theory. Maybe get your thoughts and comments on this. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't anticipate Theory winning. He wasn't in the original match. The original match had Riddle, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Madcap Moss, Omos, I believe. I think that got everyone. And then a surprise entry right before the match was Theory. He was added, and ultimately he won. So like I do a lot of times after a live event, a premium live event or pay-per-view, I go to social media. I look to see what comments are out there, thoughts as far as people with certain matches or certain moments or just the event as a whole. When it came to Theory winning the Money in the Bank match, the prevailing sentiment that I saw was like, people weren't necessarily happy with it. They feel like he's being pushed much too fast. And because with him winning Money in the Bank, it obviously sets him up to win the world title sometime in the near future, certainly within the next year. I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, I know he is young. I think he got started in the business. He was like 17, 18 years old. And he's 24 now. So he's still really young. And I thought kind of the same thing too. Like, he's young. He hasn't really been with WWE that long. He hasn't really been in the business that long. And he's super talented. So I'm not down on him in any way. He has a lot of, I guess, characteristics that could, really make him a great wrestler, in my opinion. He has a really punchable face, which I've heard has been said about Sammy Guevara. So he has a really punchable face. His eyebrows are a little too manicured for my taste, but whatever. So he definitely has a lot of ingredients to be, a really good wrestler. With that being said, I started thinking, I was like, well, I know there's been other instances of times where guys have been won the world championship and they were really young. And I thought, well, how did that work out for the WWE specifically? And so I went and looked it up. So it's actually quite interesting. Some of the names, like, it's, really is a who's who of wrestlers that have won the title at a relatively young age. So you got Randy Orton, who I believe was 24 when he won the world heavyweight title. When he won his first WWE world title, he was 27. You've got, let's see, Brock Lesnar. So he won at 25. And then you've got, I didn't know this first one, Yokozuna, who is sneaky underrated in my opinion. But Yokozuna, The Rock, and The Undertaker, they won their first world title, WWE world title, at 26 years old. I didn't know that about Yoko. I didn't realize Undertaker was 26 either when he won his first one. Then after that, you got a pretty good list of guys that won at 27. So I already mentioned Randy Orton, but he won his first world title at 24, and he won his first WWE world title at 27. But also you have John Cena, who won at 27. Bruno Sammartino. So Bruno Sammartino, that's old school for some of you young bucks out there. Not the tag team, but some of you younger fans. But Bruno Sammartino won at 27, held the title for like 7.5 years, something ridiculous. And then Big Show. So Big Show won his first world title in WCW. He was 23. So he's youngest on this list, but he won his first WWE world title at 27. And then at 28 years old, two more old school cats, Ivan Koloff and Pedro Morales, at 28, which I believe their runs were sandwiched in between Bruno Sammartino's runs. So Ivan Koloff beat Bruno Sammartino and then had the belt for like a handful of weeks and then lost it to Pedro Morales. So that's a pretty good list that we're looking at potentially Theory being on. Because like I said, all things point to, you know, him eventually winning the world title with this win at Money in the Bank. Although it doesn't necessarily guarantee it. There's been a handful of guys who have not been able to cash in. But I don't, the only thing I thought, and this is just me fantasy booking, the only thing I thought that could potentially happen was Theory, who they've been teasing this conflict between him and John Cena, is that, you know, maybe there's something that happens with John Cena where he maybe cost Theory his opportunity to cash in. That's the only thing I can think of. You know, but my whole fantasy booking got blown out the window this past Monday. I thought that they would work towards Theory and Cena wrestling at SummerSlam at the end of this month, but they announced this past Monday that Theory and Bobby Lashley are going to have a rematch for the United States title at SummerSlam. But who knows? Anything can happen between now and then. But even still, there's still opportunity there. Let's say Theory doesn't win against Bobby Lashley, and say he loses by disqualification, whatever the case may be, because it doesn't make any sense to put the title back on him at this point, the United States title, in my opinion. And then you have, of course, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. They're going to have their match for the world title. Last man standing certainly sets up a set of circumstances that are favorable to someone who's trying to cash in. He attempts to cash in. John Cena comes and does something to prevent that from happening. So, like I said, that's just me fantasy booking, but kind of got, you know, blown out of water with the rematch announcement for Theory and Bobby Lashley. So yeah, when I look at that list and I see those names, I see Undertaker, I see, you know, and Undertaker, his first world title, I was like less than a week. His run was less than a week. But still, it's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. John Cena, you know, Randy Orton, you know, these are big time names in the history of business. And so obviously WWE sees Theory as potentially being on that list, or else they wouldn't have allowed him to win the match. So, you know, we're talking about this impromptu change before the match, and how much of an impact could it have on the company. Things are really crazy right now with wrestling, in particular with WWE and AEW. So many wrestlers, so many key wrestlers that are injured on both sides. You know, I mentioned Cody Rhodes, his injury, you know, from prior to Hell in a Cell, and now he's going to be out, looks like, till the beginning of next year. You got Randy Orton, who's hurt, Big E, who's been out for a while with a neck injury. There's just so many, you know, key names that are out. And then obviously with AEW, you got CM Punk. There's no MJF, not an injury, or maybe it could be, but doesn't appear to be. Yeah, just there's so many key guys. So it's a really kind of a interesting time in professional wrestling. See what both companies are going to do over the next few months to try to, you know, get over the hump of all these injuries and keep their storylines fresh and interesting. Because I think the sentiment out there is that we've seen enough of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And for some, there may be people that feel like they've seen enough of Roman Reigns as champion. And if he loses to Brock, I think there's going to be that sentiment out there. People have seen enough of Brock Lesnar being champion. So really interesting. I would be curious to be able to talk to Theory and kind of get his thoughts on it. I mean, he has to be excited. Like I say, he's 24, hasn't been in the business for a long time. So to have these opportunities to be U.S. champion, the youngest U.S. champion, and potentially, I guess, potentially the youngest world champion. I'm not sure what the disparity in terms of age when Randy Orton won when he was 24, because like I said, Theory's 24, so I'm not sure when his birthday is, but who knows? I have to look at that, see where their birthdays are at, because they could be positioning for that, right? He's already been the youngest U.S. champion. It could be positioning to be the youngest world champion. So yeah, like I said, I'd be interested to see what his thoughts are. I mean, I don't think he would openly say like, "Oh, I'm really down on this idea and being pushed so fast." That would not make any sense for him to do that from a business standpoint. But maybe internally, he's kind of maybe there's some conflict there. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's a thing. But yeah, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like I said, I know it's been almost a week since the Money in the Bank happened, but we had the holiday, and so I just wanted to get this out, talk about that real quick. Just another impromptu change, quote unquote. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next week. Peace and love.